This is Dr. David Lederer coming to you from Montreal, Canada on behalf of iCare PD, where the PD stands for Professional Development. OCT-Angiography is our topic today, and this video lecture is a continuation of my previous lecture of the same name. This portion is aimed at deepening your basic understanding of OCT-A image interpretation. And what better place to start in terms of image interpretation than with understanding slab analysis. So let's jump right into it. You will recall that a slab is simply a two-dimensional representation of a series of C scans, and knowing which slab you are viewing is the foundation of OCT-A interpretation. So here, what you see is a still capture of the OCT-A analysis screen from the Zeiss unit. What I want to bring your attention to are the purple boundary lines overlying the B-scan. These purple lines tell you what portions of the image are used to create the slab you are viewing. So in this example, you see the purple boundary line goes from the inner retina to the RPE. So this slab is called the retinal slab. And once again, I'll remind you that a slab is simply a two-dimensional representation of all of the C scans between the boundary lines. Here you can see a different slab. In this one, the purple boundary lines go from within the vitreous to the inner aspect of the neurosensory retina. This is called the vitreoretinal interface slab. Here, the purple boundary lines go from the inner retina to approximately the location of the inner plexiform layer. We call this the superficial slab. Here, you can see the purple boundary lines go from the inner plexiform layer to the outer plexiform layer, and we call this the deep slab. Here, the boundary lines go from the outer plexiform layer to an area just a bit above the retinal pigment epithelium. We call this the avascular slab, as no blood vessels should normally be found in this layer. Continuing on with other slab types, the purple boundary lines here are quite hard to visualize, but they are just below the RPE and offset by about 20 microns, and this is the choriocapillaris slab. Finally, if you place one boundary line just below the choriocapillaris and another even deeper, you can capture what we call the choroid slab. This concept of different slabs is critical in considering different pathologies. More specifically, selecting the correct slab to view is paramount. Let me demonstrate the importance of slab selection with a case example. Here is a case of AMD with a choroidal neovascular network. You can see that here. There is much to discuss about CNV, but as today it's about keeping it basic, let me stay focused on the idea of slab selection. This is a slab I have not yet shown you called the ORCC slab. It stands for the outer retina to choriocapillaris, and you can see the purple boundary lines showing you exactly what the slab is encompassing, and you can clearly see the CNV complex. But look what happens when I go to the choriocapillaris slab. This is the same patient, but now the CNV network is no longer visible. This goes to show you that it really does matter which slab you select. Let me show you that again. Here is the outer retina to choriocapillaris slab. The CNV lesion is clearly visible. Here is the choriocapillaris slab. And just as a side comment, even if you looked at any of the other slabs, you would still not see the CNV network. So it really does matter what slab you choose, and slab presets are quite helpful. You can also manually adjust any slab for added flexibility in your image analysis. Let me show you another way in which slab selection is important. In this case, you can see a patient with diabetic retinopathy. You've got a lot of dot, blot, hemorrhages scattered throughout the retina in a classic pattern that indicates diabetic retinopathy. As I zoom in, you can't help but wonder if this circled area is just blood, or is it truly neovascularization of the disc? Well, you can use your OCT-A to help. This is an OCT-A image. It is a series of captures in a montage. Note the microaneurysms. There's capillary dropout and non-perfusion. And there are intraretinal microvascular abnormalities. Do you see neovascularization on the disc? Well, be careful, because you need to note what slab it is. This is the retinal slab. You can note that here, and you can see here with this image I dropped in, I placed it for added clarity to show you where the boundary lines are in a retinal slab. Would you expect to see neovascularization of the disc on a retinal slab? No, of course not. NVD sits on top of the disc, extending into the vitreous. For that, you need the vitreoretinal interface slab. And if you look here at the boundary lines, that's exactly what this slab is. And if this slab were entirely normal, then the entire thing should be black. There should be no flow in this portion of a normal eye. It's just vitreous. But here, you see an area of flow, meaning there are blood vessels in the vitreous. And look at its location. Now, you can clearly confirm that that little nub of red in the color photo was actually neovascularization of the disc, or NVD. Cool, huh? But you need to pay attention to your slab selection. The final basic concept I want to cover today is that of quantitative analysis of the OCT-A. And here we are going to be brief, as this is a massive topic. Here is a patient with severe non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. You can see I took the CSLO image captured by the OCT device and overlaid the OCT-A image. This gives you an idea of the size and scale we are analyzing in the varying slabs. More specifically, this is a 3 by 3 millimeter slab. Here, we are zoomed in, and we're looking at the superficial slab. You can note some microaneurysms here, and you can note some alterations in the foveal avascular zone. And we can do several things with the slab. First, we can overlay the structural OCT-A thickness map onto the OCT-A image. Note that the thickened retinal areas correspond to the microaneurysms. You can also do quantitative metrics on the OCT-A images. Specifically, we can calculate things like vessel density and plot that on a colorimetric map. Vessel density is a numeric representation of total vessel length in a given area, calculated after a type of image processing termed skeletonization. You can also look at the perfusion density, which is a numeric representation of vessel area after a type of image processing termed binarization. I am not going to go into the mathematics of calculating each, and frankly, some of it is proprietary, but I want to stay on point here, noting that there are numeric ways to look at the OCT-A. But of course, these are just visual maps, which is to say a visual representation of the numbers. As you can imagine, you can get much more granular. Specifically, you can calculate vessel density using a standard ETDRS grid and numerically quantify this by quadrant. And you can also look at the foveal avascular zone and measure aspects like circularity and area. These foveal measurements are important because as the circularity of the foveal avascular zone, or FAZ, becomes less circular, and as the FAZ enlarges and the area gets bigger, then you're looking at a patient with worsening ischemia. Now again, there is a ton here that we could talk about and dissect, but I really want to keep today's talk superficial while providing a broad basic background to help slingshot your professional development. And I think our review today has served as a great starting point. So here we are at this crossroads of the past and the future that we call the present. This is an exciting time for retinal imaging. OCT-A is resulting in a transformative change. The technology is blossoming, and only with understanding and focused practice will you be able to successfully integrate it to help your patients. iCare PD is here to help as a partner in your professional development. And on that note, this is Dr. David signing off, and I am always learning.